Middle of the month!
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you breaking news. The demo beastie has escaped the Upside Down and is in Shailin's studio.
Sounds like I need to make a new outfit. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how I made Nancy's purple cutout dress in season 3 of Stranger Things. So, I ended up having to make 5 different pattern pieces because each one just seemed wrong. After messing up on the first 4, I realized I had to stop being lazy and only using 2 measurements, my bust and my waist, and I had to use 4. In the big scheme of things, that wasn't a lot of a difference, but I'm a lazy turd, so yes, I'm going to show you guys how to do this. You're gonna need your bust, waist, center front, also known as your shoulder to waist, and your bust depth, also known as your shoulder to bust point. Your bust, that is the largest part around your chest, your bust right here. Your waist, that is the smallest part of your waist. In the last video I mentioned it's usually above your belly button. And then your center front is your shoulder to waist measurement. So right at the where your neck is, right here, and your shoulder meets, you're going to start there, go down over the largest part of your bust. Usually it's at your what's called the bust point or your nipple. And then you're going to go down to your waist, and that's your center front. And then the last measurement is your bust depth or your shoulder to bust point, which is from the top of your shoulder where your neck meets down to the bust point, or like I said, your nipple. That's your bust depth. And those 4 measurements are what you're going to need to create your pattern. So we're going to be making a smaller version of the pattern to make it just a little bit easier. I'm just going to fill in all of my measurements here. So the first thing you're going to need to do is start on your pattern paper. You're going to mark your center front line. And that is actually exactly this length right here for me. Again, I said this is going to be on a smaller scale. So once your whole center front line all the way down, shoulder to waist, and make a line across there, you're going to take your waist measurement and divide by 4. Now, if you want any ease, you can add that in first and then divide by 4. So you're going to mark a line right at the bottom of your pattern there. Your waist divided by 4. And that is your waist. The next thing you're going to want to do is from the top of your pattern, you're going to mark your bust depth. So your shoulder to bust point. You're going to mark a line down there. And you're going to do this a few times because you're going to straighten this line out. So that line right there, that's where you're going to mark your bust. And what you're going to need to do from your bust measurement is you're going to need to add at least 4 inches of ease. And then divide by 4. Okay, so that line marks your bust depth. And now you're going to take your bust measurement with your 4 inches of ease that you divided by 4. And you're going to mark a line right there. Right on that bust depth mark. So when you look at Nancy's dress, you notice that she has a little tiny sleeve on her dress. I guesstimated that to be about 1 inch. So right after that line that you marked on your bust depth, you're going to want to add 1 inch for the sleeve. So this is now your little sleeve, and you're going to square that. So what that means is you're going to take a clear ruler, preferably, that has a marking for all your inches or centimeters. It also has perpendicular lines to it, and you're just going to use that to make sure that your lines are exactly 90 degrees. What you're going to do from here is you're going to need to mark from your waist to your bust point right here. And that's where the French curve comes in. When you're almost done, all you have to do is worry about your neckline and your shoulder. So for your neckline, you're going to need to actually create two. So you're going to mark 5 inches from the center over and then 3 inches down. And then you're going to round that off. So now that this is the front of the bodice, for the back, all you need to do is go up 1 inch. And that's just going to raise the neckline on the back, just so you can differentiate between the front and the back. Now that you've marked 5 inches over here, you're going to go to the edge of your sleeve and you're going to go 1 inch down. That's just so you have a slope on your shoulder. And you're just going to draw a line from the top of your neckline down to the end of your sleeve. And there is your pattern. So that is your finished pattern. All you have to do now is cut out the front and back pattern pieces, and that's your bodice for the Nancy dress. But Nancy's dress is not that plain. So now I'm just starting to mark the lines on the front of her dress where she has her cutouts. I'm going to just guesstimate where her lines are. So Nancy's dress has a couple cutouts. When I screenshotted it, she has 9 cutouts in the front. So it looks like there's going to be a center cutout and then 8 on each side. So that's what I'm going to end up doing. I just wanted to show you guys the pattern pieces all cut out. So this one's going to be a simple one that I'm doing because I had extra fabric and I really wanted to make 2 dresses of the style. So this one has just the front piece cut out. As you can see, the back piece is a little bit higher than the front right here. And they line up on the shoulders and the side seams because they did use the same pattern piece. So for the purple dress, this is the back piece. I told you guys to draw that straight line for the sleeve. What I did was I folded that in half because I want that piece separate from the bodice. So what I did with the pattern piece is I folded that over for the back piece and the front piece, and I added the seam allowance. And then for the sleeve, I made it a separate piece by copying that pattern right here. See how it's angled at the top? I copied that right there, and I added seam allowance. And I did that on the fold. That way when I fold it over for the pattern right here, it'll fit and hopefully look just like Nancy's dress. So that's what I did for the sleeve. And then now I know you guys are wondering how I'm doing the front of the dress that I've already marked here. Again, I kept this part folded over because those are separate pieces. And I added seam allowance right here and I cut that out. So that is going to be the front piece. And I'm actually going to have 2 of these pieces cut out because that's going to be my facing again. And then I did the same thing for the bottom. I added a 1/2 inch seam allowance here and I cut that out. And I'm going to start cutting out these pieces. My game plan is to make these pieces on one long strip of fabric and then cut them in, I think it's about 2 inches here. Hello, Dot Dot. Excuse you. Thank you. I know. I know. Go on. Thank you. So here's that strip I was talking about. What I'm doing is folding it over to sew it down to make a tube, turning it right side out, and then I'm gonna cut it to the 2 inches that I want it to be plus seam allowance, so it's gonna be 3 inches tall, and then I'm gonna attach it to the dress. So right here I'm folding the bodice in half so I can mark the middle of the bodice, and then I'm using my pattern piece to figure out where the little pieces go for the cutouts. So what I'm doing first is I'm basting these strips onto one of the bodice pieces, and then afterwards I'm going to attach the other bodice piece over so I can flip it and have a nice clean finish on the inside of the dress. Once it's flipped right side out and pressed down, I will top stitch the edge of the fabric. And then I repeated that exact same process for the top of the bodice. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the front and the back pieces on this side, and then I'm going to sew the front and the back pieces of the bodice that's not attached yet, which is basically the facing. And then once that's together, I will iron this down. I've already done it on this piece. And on the front, I'm going to stitch in the ditch right on the seam line. That's going to catch this lining right here, and it's going to hide all of the raw edges on the inside of the fabric. So this is what it looks like. As you can see, the stitching is right by the seam. And then on the inside, you can see that I had that little bit of extra so I could catch the material. And that makes the inside just as nice and clean as the outside, so you don't have any raw seams with all the gathers right on your waist. I do this for almost all of my dresses. I do it for the dresses I have on my website. Do the same thing, same exact concept as what I did here at the waistband, right on here at the sleeve band. I'm gonna stitch it on one side and then I'm going to flip, turn, and press, and then I'm going to stitch it down. So you will see stitching on this side of the dress similar to this, and that will hide this on the inside as well. So I started the bias tape at the neckline. I am so close to done. I haven't finished it because I used the teal colored thread to sew it on, but if you look at the pictures, it is top stitched with a lilac color. And then for the skirt, it looks like what they did is they top stitched the hem of the skirt down, and that's how they attached the blue, the teal color, to the skirt. So that's what I plan on doing. I'm going to be stitching right here, so it's about 1/2 inch up from the hem. And then this will be attached that way, and then I'm going to hem this, and then the dress will be done. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to my channel.